The flip back by Nitish Kumar in Bihar to the Mahagathbandhan to the opposition camp has opened up all sorts of political possibilities. But the most immediate impact will be felt in the Rajya Sabha. We'll be looking at that in moments from now. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. And remember, questions had already been asked about what Nitish Kumar and Tejasvi Yadav joining hands might mean for opposition politics and indeed national politics in 2024. But while we have our eye on the long game, there might be an immediate short game that unfolds in the upper house of parliament, where the NDA is already short of numbers and has often been saved by friendly parties like the Biju Janata Dal and Jagan Reddy's party. Will that continue to be the case, or might they respond differently after the developments in Bihar? To talk about all of this and more, we are joined by our newsmaker on the program today. We're talking, of course, in a moment from now to the Trinamool Congress's leader in the Rajya Sabha, Derek O'Brien. Great to see you again. Derek, how do you, before we get to the actual numbers, how do you actually look at what's happened in Bihar? If you have to step back and look at the big political picture, does it open up any sort of space for 2024, or do you think the opposition is getting ahead of itself?
Absolutely. Bihar, what has happened in Bihar is huge. 20 months to still go for the elections. And yesterday, what was happened in Bihar is huge. You also have to remember that Mr. Amit Shah was making announcements till very recently that the JDU and the BJP were all set to fight the 2024 elections together. So it has huge ramifications. And it really doesn't matter who the prime ministerial candidate is. That's the story which the BJP want to talk about. Who's the prime ministerial candidate against Modi? That's not the story. The story is that in a state where possibly the BJP could have won 38, 39 seats, now they're going to struggle to hit even double digit. So that's the one big change in the numbers. There are other numbers, as you said, in the Rajya Sabha, etc. So, and I think it's, to use a sports expression, it happened against the run of play. Because after Maharashtra, everyone thought, like, what is happening next? Domino effect. And then against the run of play, took Modi and Shah by a little bit of a surprise. And I think they were surprised. And I want to also, and I can make some, how else can this pan out in the future? But most certainly, this monsoon session of Parliament was cut down by 4 days because these cowards knew we would have hit them like they've never been hit before in Parliament on the 12th of August, tomorrow, in Rajya Sabha. We'd have knocked the stuffing out of them because the deputy chairman, Mr. Harivansh, is a member of the Janata Dal United. And the way the numbers would have stacked up for tomorrow, the BJP may have lost if somebody moved a resolution, as some of us were planning to move, we'd have defeated the BJP or come close to defeating them on the floor of the Rajya Sabha tomorrow for the deputy chairman.
That's a really big news point right here. You're saying if the session of Parliament had not been cut short, there was a move afoot to actually move what? What were you going to move against the government that you would have managed to defeat them on in the Rajya Sabha, according to you, Derek? Let's unmute Derek. Yeah.
To tell you the truth, we already had this resolution in place. That's why the BJP were running away from Parliament. It had nothing. When they set this Parliament up, they already knew Muharram was a holiday. They already knew Rakhi Bandhan was a holiday. So why wasn't there no session on 10th and 12th? So any member can bring a resolution. You bring the resolution and you vote on the resolution. What the BJP now have to try and work out, now they've got 4 months to work this out. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Because there are 8 MPs, maybe 9. Those are vacant seats. 3 nominated. We can assume all those 3 will, when they do get nominated, will vote for the BJP. And there are 4 or 5 other seats which would also look like they're going towards the BJP. So that's a +8 which they can cobble up in the next 2-3 months. Easy to predict that they're going to have that election very, very quickly. They'll get those 8. But if they had the election tomorrow, or not election, sorry, if they had a resolution tomorrow, our numbers tell us, and when I say our, it means like-minded parties. We start with the Congress with 31, the Trinamool with 13, second largest. Then comes the DMK and the Aam Aadmi Party with 10 each, TRS and RJD with 6, the NCP with 4, and there are the smaller parties. If you add all that up, it comes to about 107, 108. Now, if you add the BJP's 91 to only one other party, AIDMK, and the
Yeah.
four nominated, you get about 108, 109.
Yeah, it's on your
Very.
screen there. The numbers there are on your screen. And
Okay,
and
okay.
yeah. And here, what about
Now,
these two? What about these two
yeah.
fellows?
So the Biju Janata Dal, Mr. Naveen Patnaik and the Biju Janata Dal, they are the most trusted allies of the BJP. They are the most trusted allies. They are nowhere next to the opposition. It's a very simple understanding of that political party, and it's their decision. But I'm not interested. I don't think too many people in the opposition are even to make a call anymore to the Biju Janata Dal. We don't even discuss floor strategy with them for the last 1 year. So they're gone case. They're with the BJP. Good luck. Good luck till they're gobbled up in Odisha a few years from now. The YSR, now that's the YSR. The YSR have 9 members. They could play a role. But if there was no vote, if there was a vote tomorrow, it would have been, a hit operation where BJP wouldn't have even known this was happening. And that's why they were so desperate to shut this session down. They made all the excuses that they wanted to give Mr. Venkaiah Naidu a farewell, all bunkum. They would have lost. Now, I don't know. I have not spoken to Mr. Harivansh. I don't know which side he's going. If Mr. Harivansh, who's the deputy chairman, decides that he will ditch Mr. Nitish Kumar and in fact play ball with BJP, no problem for BJP. But if Mr. Harivansh, who is the deputy chairman, decides that no, I'm elected deputy chairman till 2026 and I will do whatever I want to do. Remember what Somnath Chatterjee did in the Lok Sabha. Somnath Chatterjee, the great Somnath Chatterjee, decided that even though the CPM have made a decision, but I'll still be the speaker in the Lok Sabha. The CPM expelled him. But here's a little different. My sense is Mr. Harivansh, and maybe also wishful thinking, Mr. Harivansh may stay with Nitish Kumar, who gave him his first break in politics. Now, if he decides to do that, BJP won't know how to handle him. They'll have to bring a no confidence motion against Mr. Harivansh. Now, that can go either way, but they do get 2-3 months' time to cobble up their numbers. This is what the situation is. My sense tells me I'd be very surprised if Mr. Harivansh ditches his mentor, Mr. Nitish Kumar, and then goes and joins the BJP.
This is a very interesting sort of set of scenarios. But before we get to the role of the deputy chairman, I want to take you back to the two parties, BJD and YSR. Are you saying that while you categorize Naveen Patnaik as BJP, you may have somewhat different hopes from Jagan Reddy, or are they both now with the BJP for you?
Biju Janata Dal, I mean, it takes no convincing, and they're nothing personal against any of the MPs of the Biju Janata Dal. There are some very fine gentlemen and fine ladies, and they have almost 30% women MPs. But no, Mr. Naveen Patnaik and the Biju Janata Dal are with the BJP. Even in 2024, they will have some arrangement where I'll be in the state and you'll be in the center. We are the guys, and when I say we, it's not only the Trinamool, it's the Congress and the DMK and the left and everybody else, and the AAP and the TRS and the RJD, who are all doing the heavy lifting, both inside Parliament and outside Parliament. So BJD will not get a call, I believe, from anybody in the opposition saying either flow strategy, coordination strategy. No. Till 2024, that will not happen. Whereas the YSR, because the YSR still have a match to play in Andhra Pradesh. We don't know how TDP is coming up. What are the dynamics in Andhra Pradesh? And I'm not a cephalogist, so I'm not going there. But I still think on certain issues, like on the president and the vice president, they were very clear. But I think there's still a window of opportunity. There's a window of opportunity. I know there are other kinds of allies which the BJP have, which they use. Those allies like the ED, the CBI, etc., can always be thrown at the YSR. So the match is interesting. Let me put it this way: it is no more a walkover in one of the two houses of parliament. That's confirmed, because when you passed those farm bills, you did not ask for a division, and it was significant. You did not. We asked for a division. We weren't allowed a vote, and there it was significant. And I mentioned this in my farewell speech to Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. Mr. Venkaiah Naidu did not sit on the chair the entire day the farm laws were passed. He sat on it for the other controversial bills, Kashmir, triple talaq, and all. But for the farm laws, he didn't sit. And he's no more the vice president of India, at least as of today. So I'm really looking forward to his autobiography to find out why, in fact, he didn't sit. But to come back to the present, the winter session of Parliament will be very, very interesting. The BJP will keep trying and disrupt proceedings in the Rajya Sabha, because if it comes to a vote, yes, I must concede that the BJP are ahead by a few seats, because they're going to fill up these 8 seats. And after that, it's close, single digit close.
So there are two revelations thus far. One is that for the 12th of August, that is the day after Raksha Bandhan, parties opposed to the BJP had planned a resolution against the government that you believe the way the numbers stack up today, the government would have lost.
It's a toss of the coin, because some members would not have come. It's a toss of the coin. It could have gone either way, It could have gone either way. But if there was an element of surprise, as we thought we had an element of surprise, and
Yeah.
and it's important when you have an element of surprise. Why on earth? I can understand you didn't want to discuss price rise. They did not want to discuss price rise. They spoiled 12 days of parliament. You don't need to be a great market research guru to tell you every survey which has been done either by political parties or by external agencies have all showed the number one issue in this country today is price rise. Mr. Modi and Shah found the way, or they thought they found a way to bypass that decision on the discussion on price rise. How did they decide to do it? They thought by suspending 25, 26, 27 MPs, and by creating you suspend Congress MPs in Lok Sabha, and here you suspend all the other parties but not the Congress, will create a split. I think where the opposition, I think we completely outplayed them. We took Parliament outside. We took Parliament to the dharna outside Gandhi's statue. And suddenly, because what is Parliament? What is the Constitution? Parliament is only a congregation of people. So that
Right.
the congregation of people, Barkha, fighting for the Constitution, don't necessarily have to be sitting in Parliament, because this congregation of people moved outside Parliament. And suddenly, round the clock dharna, we had, doesn't matter which party you were from. You were from Aam Aadmi Party, you were from TMC, you were from TRS, you were from the left, you were from the Congress. Everybody came together. Congress took a little time to come, but they came. So it was all together. There were MPs who were MPs for like 7 days, 10 days. They also got suspended. So that backfired. Then what did they say? They said, okay, the finance minister has got COVID. So we said, we wish her well. The finance minister needn't come and respond to this. Any other minister. Oh, then what are we told? My gosh, it's such an important issue. GST and price rise. Only the finance minister must answer. And look at these hypocrites. On the last day of the session, I mean, this is mocking Parliament but they get caught. Here we go. Let me just make this one point. On the last day of Parliament, or what they call the last day, the bill is on a central university bill. In the list of business, it's written piloted by who? Obviously piloted by the education minister. The education minister doesn't come. The IT and the railway minister comes and pilots the education bill. So what happened to your logic about the finance minister? So this is the problem. This Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah, without Mr. Arun Jaitley, who was the counsel, who was their guiding light in Parliament, who was his ideology and our ideology is completely different. But we agreed on one thing, that Parliament as an institution must be preserved. Whereas Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah believe that Parliament as an institution must be having some fancy gadgets, some very good Wi-Fi, some very nice tables and desks for every new MP. But when you go into that new building, you leave the Constitution outside. That's the point I'm trying to make. The Constitution, the congregation of people will be left outside.
Yeah. And you believe that in this scenario where the Rajya Sabha could come back to being at least a fight, the deputy chairman, who is from Nitish Kumar's Janata Dal United, what he does next could be critical.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And honestly, I haven't spoken to the deputy chairman. I have no idea, because now we could have a position, we could have a situation where the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, who's the vice president of India, is on debut. This is the first time he's coming out to bat in a match in winter. And you may have a deputy chairman, and that is why it's too early for me, and I'm not qualified to speak on behalf of the entire opposition, because that's not my job and that's not my mandate. But telling you from the point of view of my party, the Trinamool Congress, we will try and look for these opportunities. Sometimes we will win some, we will lose some. For example, in the farm laws, what happened? We didn't get our vote, but we went out and started dharna. So it's not about how many votes we get, but if they put up a deputy chairman, and they've done this before, people don't, track all this kind of news. When the session started, they dropped Shukhendu Shekhar Rai, who is the most qualified on the panel of, not because he's my colleague, but everyone says he's the most qualified of the panel of vice chairman. They dropped him. Why? Because he has an independent mind. So now they've taken him back. So it's going to be very, very interesting, because Lok Sabha is clean sweep. Rajya Sabha, these are the numbers. And if Mr. Harivansh, I think that because the next 2-3 months, they don't need to bother, because the deputy chairman only has a role in the house. So till the winter session, we're okay. But if Harivansh, the Lord forbid, and I hope, stays on with Mr. Nitish Kumar, you watch how quickly these Rajya Sabha seats will be filled by the BJP. And after that, Mr. Jagan Reddy, this is his chance to put his hand up and be counted if he really wants to fight for an inclusive, for a non-divisive, for an India where you can eat what you want, you can drink what you want, you can worship who you want to, and you preserve these great institutions like Parliament.
Okay, Parliament is going to be interesting, and as you said, at least it's going to be somewhat more of a fight than certainly takes place in Lok Sabha. Let me ask you in the end, you said, it's the BJP script to talk about who will be the opposition face up against PM Modi. At the same time, you concede that Bihar has been significant and against the run of play. There's a lot of speculation over whether it'll be Nitish or Mamta, your leader. That's question one. The second is that another leader of your party, Mr. Anubrata Mondal, has been arrested today, the second big strike after Partha Chatterjee. No matter how much you all rally together, are all of these developments not putting you on the back foot in terms of perception?
You see, perception, if I say, no, all this doesn't matter, of course, all this matters, but you have to fight these politically, okay? Who are we talking about? Who is the chairperson of the All India Trinamool Congress? Do corruption charges stick on that sari of hers? No, they don't. Or what are we demanding? We are demanding, firstly, we say we are zero tolerance when it comes to corruption. 2, we are demanding a speedy inquiry and let the truth come out. And 3, BJP, look at the person they have in Bengal, or caught on tape like this with lakhs of rupees. So in fact, the joke in Parliament, which I was telling some of my friends in Central Hall, is that the GST in washing machines, I mean, lightheartedly, the GST on washing machines came down from 28% to 18% because the BJP have to buy so many washing machines. And it's not only in Bengal, the same thing has happened where TDP MPs have left the TDP and none of them are being investigated. There are so many such cases. So every ally has left except for the RPI, the Maharashtra ally, which is one. the beleaguered AIDMK, which is the second ally, you add it up, and I think the Apna Dal in UP. You add all these MPs up, I think you get about six. So this is the state of the BJP. But they've got three formidable allies who are the only people who stick with Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah: the ED, the CBI, the income tax, and this is the way they play their politics.
Before we let you go, you skipped or you ducked the question over whether Nitish Kumar is now the natural sort of contender to be the pivot for opposition forces. Do you want to take that question?
Yeah, of course, I will take the question. The BJP, the more we discuss who is the opposition contender, the more we discuss it, the more it benefits the BJP. It really doesn't matter because the 2024 election will be an aggregate of state elections. Here's how it has to pan out. First, the Congress have to bat very well on the 4 or 5 pitches they are batting without any disturbance. There's no vote cutting happening in Rajasthan. They got to go and win the match, or if not win, can't lose that game. 228. Or in Karnataka they have to win, or in Madhya Pradesh they got to get at least double-digit seats. So Congress have their role to play in those states. Okay, Mr. KCR in Telangana, he will win Telangana. Then you go to Mr. Stalin in DMK, so he has to take on Mr. Modi in Tamil Nadu. The Aam Aadmi Party have to replicate their performance in Punjab. Will that be easy? Well, that's another story. And in Delhi, similarly, the same plays out in Bengal. No boast, I don't like to boast about Bengal numbers, but the BJP, if I know anything about Bengal, BJP themselves know it's now, they are 18, they could be losing 15, 16 of those 18 seats in Bengal. And I think the other state where that two states need a lot of teamwork. Okay, one state is Maharashtra and the other state is Uttar Pradesh. So Maharashtra, nobody knows what is the effect. Is Eknath Shinde the heir? Is the heir to the Thackeray story?
Yeah.
My understanding is easier said than done. Yes, he may have been the heir for the 40, 45 MLAs, but once you go to the vote, then I think you may get a very different picture there. I don't know, and I'm not a psephologist. But in Uttar Pradesh, and let's be practical, that's the tough one where all of us have to rally around Mr. Akhilesh Yadav. And let me say this, if the parliament session was anything to go by, I have observed, I'm talking about only in parliament, there has been some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, some kind of early realization that the Congress party are now talking to us or attempting to talk to us, viewing us as equals. That is important. So if you view us as an equal, because we win states, Trinamool, we think we are close to the 50 mark, in 2024. But again, no big talk. So I think that is how we play out. And I want to tell you something very significant. It was said in Bengali, so it wasn't picked up by the Noida channels and the Godi channels. But oops, sorry. Mamta Banerjee on the 21st of July, 2022, to 25 lakh people at that rally said, listen, I've been in politics for a long time and I can understand people's emotions and how they feel. And quote unquote, I'm just paraphrasing what she said, my understanding is right, Modi and the BJP will be voted out in the next 20 months. And look what has happened within 1 month. And she also mentioned lots will happen. And we were wondering, like, a bit cynical, but can you imagine? So she said this. We've got 20 months to go. It's match on. In football terms, I mean, for those of you who love football, I think this was pretty much looking like a one-sided match. Suddenly, it's halftime. We've still got a full half to play. And I would say it's 2-1 in favor, perhaps, of Modi's BJP. It's perhaps 2-1 at this stage in the favor because they've had two plays on this. One was 2014, where they promised, no Dr. Manmohan Singh, we bring you the hope of this Chief Minister Modi. In 2019, they changed that into we'll deliver everything by 2022. You've seen that. Now everyone will have a pakka house by 2022. You will have farmer income will triple by 2022. We are in 2022. So you haven't delivered on the hope. The hope has been belied. The dreams, well, at the price rise and everything else, the nightmare. And I think the first sign, I've been watching Mr. Modi because in Rajya Sabha when he comes, he sits about 2 or 3 seats away. There's Mr. Devi Gowda, Ms. Nirmala Sitaraman, Mr. Modi. Body language. The body language of this Prime Minister on the day Mr. Venkaiah Naidu retired, last day, that was the 8th, Monday, the 8th of August. Run the footage of his body language that day. It wasn't good body language. If you're talking about black magic, that ain't good body language. If you're talking about Mr. Amit Shah making a comment on the Congress thing, saying it was on some particular day, that is not body language. If your finance minister is saying, we are made of different stuff, you either take it or you leave it. I was 2-3 feet away. Not good body language. The first signs that they are beatable. And I'm talking to you with so much of confidence because I've seen Mamata Banerjee lead that 2021 campaign. You first have to believe you can defeat the BJP. That's what Mamata Banerjee can do. 2 is you have to not defeat them. You have to decimate them. And I think India is ready. Quietly, this is happening. Good luck to Mr. Nitish Kumar and good luck to Mr. Tejasvi Yadav and everybody else. And I just hope and sincerely hope that the Congress bats well in those 3, 4, 5 states where they are supposed to bat well.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you whether the Congress and you are doing better, but I think you anticipated that question and said they're behaving a little bit better with you. And otherwise, the opposition unity story kind of collapses before it starts. One thing you can say with any certainty is that Indian politics is massively unpredictable and it's great fun to chronicle. So thank you, Derek. I think we can agree on one thing, irrespective of what happens next. At least there's a game to watch. And right now it seemed as before this it looked like an absolute walkover. Now at least you guys have a little energy in your system to put up a fight. Yeah, more than a little energy. Derek O'Brien, always a pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.